Bonjour. Je pense qu'on peut commencer. Bonjour à tous. C'est une présentation, je vais faire en anglais après, mais je sais qu'il y a deux bonnes équipes. Nous sommes une équipe avec tous les Anglais et Français. Votre question, on peut même répondre en français ou en anglais. Thank you very much again to be here. Just before us, it was full. I see right now not too much, but it's good that we are among the friends. I would like to present today the satellite project, which was initiated from Monaco, as you know. And of course, we would like to answer some of the questions, but mainly why it is Monaco and why there is a telecom satellites coming from Monaco, and what could be the future in Monaco, and especially with the partnership with the Monaco companies or organizations like the Ministry of Communication of Monaco, Monaco Telecom, and other television companies. Let me see, it works, yeah. In order to have a satellite, we should have a position in the space. This is the most important thing. And the satellites, there are different satellites, of course, and mainly what we are working is for the telecommunication satellites, which we call geosynchronous orbits, geosynchronous satellites, which are around 36,000 kilometers away from the equator, in the equatorial plane. And when we put a satellite, we call satellite, but anything, any spacecraft, and if you give the first velocity, which is similar angular velocity to the Earth, then at that position, which is a single circular ring, at that position, the satellites stay stationary according to the Earth. This idea, actually, although I'm an engineer and all this technology is mostly engineering technology, but the idea to put a satellite or in such an orbital position and to keep stationary there and to give to use this position or this satellite or any spacecraft for the communication was the idea of a science fiction writer, even not an engineer. In 1945, maybe you know Arthur Clarke, who was a science fiction writer who wrote Space Odyssey 2001 and some other books, which I have his book 2061 Space Odyssey. After he wrote this book, last year he died, but he is the father of the invention of the, we could say, space technologies and space communications. So, of course, other than the geosynchronous orbit, there are some other orbits, which we call polar orbits, which turns around the Earth, but since it is close to Earth, it has to turn around the Earth very fast, so it means that it passes in one position every 60 minutes, sometimes 90 minutes, but it's close to Earth, and we use these positions for the military or some, we could say, spy satellites or Earth observation satellites. And of course, there are some elliptical orbits where we put the space station and some other type of missions. And Monaco has applied to the different positions. ITU, International Telecommunication Union, is controlling and registering the orbital positions, especially for the geosynchronous orbit, because geosynchronous orbit is one single circle and one single ring. So if you have a position there, it is even considered as a land of a country. So that's why the United Nations, under United Nations, ITU, make these organizations and registrations. So How it is done in Monaco? Of course, we have done for different countries before Monaco, and let's say, several satellites we launched for Turkey, for even France, Norway, and the others, and we also use and apply different procedures to get the orbital positions. But Monaco started, I think, in 2005 to think about to apply orbital positions, because only sovereign countries can have the position, orbital position. So one of the initiators of the orbital positions, Mr. Jean-Pierre Margossian, when he was in the government or in the function. So I would like him to at least explain how it started and how many orbital positions. Please, Mr. Margossian.
Thank you, Ilhami. Thank you, Dr. Ilhami. I think the objective of this meeting today is a bonheur, and for me the bonheur is to being here near you. But I will continue in French.
Oui.
Oui, Monaco, en tant qu'État souverain, a un espace maritime. Et donc, le gouvernement s'est interrogé, pourquoi ne pas aussi avoir une position dans l'espace? Et un cabinet a été chargé, donc, en 2003-2004, d'étudier les différentes positions que pourrait avoir Monaco. Et il a fait 3 propositions au gouvernement, soit d'avoir 6 positions orbitales, de demander à l'UIT d'avoir 6 positions orbitales, soit d'avoir 4 positions orbitales, soit 2 positions orbitales. Après réflexion, le gouvernement princier a décidé de demander à l'UIT 4 positions orbitales. Donc la position 52 dont on parle aujourd'hui, la position 52 Est, puisque c'est par rapport au méridien de Greenwich, la position 0, la position 40,5 Est et la position 2 degrés Ouest. Est. Sur ces 4 positions, j'ai été donc en 2005, ces positions ont été déposées auprès de l'UIT. Alors en fait, le dépôt des positions orbitales ne représente pas une somme très importante, puisque c'est de l'ordre de 5 à 6 000 $, alors que le coût d'un satellite, la fabrication, le lancement d'un satellite est de l'ordre de 250 à 300 millions de $. Donc la principauté a déposé ces 4 positions orbitales. Sur les 4 positions orbitales, moi j'ai été chargé par le gouvernement de trouver de la commercialisation de ces positions orbitales. Donc nous avons commencé à chercher des clients et nous avons été contactés par plusieurs organismes internationaux, notamment des Américains, des Africains et des Suédois. Je ne citerai que ces 3. Les négociations ont duré plusieurs années, 2005, 2006, 2007. Et ce qu'il faut savoir aussi, c'est qu'à partir du dépôt des demandes auprès de l'UIT, c'est qu'un organisme a 7 ans pour mettre en place le satellite. Et ces 7 ans, ça paraît très long, mais en fait, c'est une durée relativement très courte pour la fabrication de satellites, d'un projet, de son financement, etc. Donc, tous ces différents prospects n'ont pas abouti. Et j'ai rencontré un jour par hasard mon ami M. Aygoun, et je lui ai fait part de ce projet, de ce qu'il était advenu des différentes positions. Et lui, vraiment le grand spécialiste qu'il est dans ce domaine, m'a dit, mais vous savez, on ne demande pas simplement des positions orbitales à l'UIT, on n'obtient pas simplement ces positions orbitales. Après, il y a tout un travail de coordination, et cette coordination a lieu avec tous les États qui sont à des positions orbitales plus ou moins éloignées de celles que l'on veut utiliser. Et donc, M. Aygoun, après avoir étudié les différentes possibilités, a choisi la seule position orbitale qui pour lui était viable et commercialisable, c'était le 52 degrés Est. Voilà, il a mis.
Merci. Ça, c'est l'histoire de la position orbitale. But as Mr. Margosian said, to obtain orbital position, you need, for example, we did at least with 10 countries and at least 5 different already launched satellites coordinations. And of course, the Monaco government is continuing, and we are supporting and we are cooperating to create new positions. Maybe we can ask Mr. I see the Christophe Pierre is here, maybe at the end of our speech, to give some the latest positions of Monaco on these positions. Because this is essential to have satellite systems already. But today we can say that, as we read right here, Monaco has a land today in the space. This is registered on the name of Monaco government, or not Monaco state. So it will stay there. So when... Yes, okay.
Oui, alors effectivement, c'est Monaco qui détient la position orbitale 52 degrés Est. Et Monaco a donc cherché un opérateur qui s'est fait, qui est SSI, avec laquelle elle a signé une licence d'utilisation de la position orbitale. Ça a été signé 2010. En 2009, fin 2009, début 2010. Et donc, la société SSI a eu l'autorisation de mettre un satellite pour une durée entre 15 et 20 ans à la position orbitale de Monaco en échange d'une redevance, comme pour les redevances radio ou les redevances télévision. En fait, c'est la redevance d'utilisation de la position orbitale.
Merci. So after we signed this license agreement with Monaco government, we immediately created a consortium to start such a big project. Until now, I could say only very few private companies could manage to launch a satellite. It's almost all today, the systems are supported or created by the governments. So it was one of the few examples in the world that we have started such a project. So when we start the MonacoSat project, we named it MonacoSat. Of course, we had to have very different and top expertise in the world. So we got some frequency coordination and technical consultants companies. We have the financial strategical advisors. But when we have designed the satellite, which I spent almost 10 years as a director in it was called Aerospatiale, now Thales, and we signed an agreement with Thales to start the project. So when we have started the project, actually, you need the customers. But some of the countries they need really satellite capacity, and they need it, but since they don't have orbital position, or they don't have the technical capability, they cannot launch a satellite themselves. So that was one of the countries, Turkmenistan, who approached to France and to Thales as a government level. They asked, please help us to have our own satellite. So at that time, Thales made a kind of intermediate between us and Turkmenistan. And then when we start the cooperation with the Turkmenistan, I could say we sold 2/3 of the whole capacity to Turkmenistan from the starting of the project. What does it mean for us? It helps, of course, to the financing of the whole project from the beginning, instead of going to the banks for the credits. Just to give you a number, the total project cost is around 300 million euro. So after several discussions, in 2011, November, we signed a contract with Turkmenistan government, SSI. So we signed that agreement, and then together with Turkmenistan, we signed another agreement with Thales to start of the construction of the satellite. I just want to show you 2 pictures here. One is our signature with the Turkmenistan minister, and the other one is the Thales signature with the Turkmenistan. I just want you to notice the flags, because this is government ceremony, and the flags in our SSI signature, we insisted to have the Monaco flag. In Turkmenistan, it was not easy, but they found it. So, of course, after working a lot and having the satellite manufactured, we launched the satellite in 2015, this year, 27th of April, with some delay on the launcher of the SpaceX and some others. So at this point, just you to feel the launch, I would like to show you a film, which is very short, 2.5 minutes, film showing how it is started and how we launched the satellite. And thanks to the Bars who made this film edited.
Son Altesse Sérénissime le Prince Albert II ainsi que le ministre d'État Michel Roger s'étaient d'ailleurs rendus respectivement dans les locaux de Thales pour suivre l'évolution de MonacoSat, ce joli bébé de 4 tonnes 8 qui a vu le jour en 27 mois seulement, soit plus de 4 mois avant la date prévue.
I would like to thank the teams today for all the work done by those involved in this project. Turkmenistan and its president, of course, the French company Thales Alenia Space, the satellite's manufacturer, the American company SpaceX, who have enabled its launch, and of course the Monaco company Space System International and its director, Mr. Ilhami Aygun.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have liftoff of the Falcon 9.
Vehicle. And we have that back ignition. Confirmed.
So this was, I could say, a very exceptional moment. And I should say we were a bit 3 months late because there were some problems that we detected on the launcher, on the rocket of SpaceX. And I am not good to say, but just after us, there was another launch for NASA, and it was failed. And it was failed in the space. So still, our launcher is the last successful launch of SpaceX. So the satellite is today in the orbit, working well. And just as a technical information, it has 38 transponders, Ku band, all in the high frequency bands. 26 of the transponders are used by Turkmenistan, and 12 of the transponders are used by SSI, which we are now entering a new agreement with Turkmenistan to have their extra capacities up to 20 that we, SSI, will make the marketing and then use it. And the satellite has 3 beams, east, west, and MENA, and the coverage of in the coverage of the area of the satellite, this satellite is one of the most powerful satellites today in Europe, covering these regions. And just to give you some numbers, the satellite had around 5 tons, and at the end of the lifetime, it will give 12 kilowatts from the solar generators from the wings. So as a coverage, as I said to you, it's one of the biggest coverage area, and especially most powerful satellite in this area. As you can see, all Central Asia, Russia, Europe, of course, and North Africa and Middle East are covered. And so what does it mean? From one single antenna, you can reach to all these regions, or you can communicate between these regions with one single satellite antenna. Of course, this is, I'm sure Mr. Martin Perrone will explain, but this is very, very important for the operators. So some detailed pictures. When we say most powerful, almost all everywhere in these coverages, we can receive the television signals or communicate with this satellite around 60 centimeter dishes. 60 centimeter dishes is today minimum dish that we can have very high power TV, HD or any type of TV, but also very high stream internet connections. This satellite covers, in these coverages, around 1.6 billion people. So in these coverages, in our coverage, 1.6 billion, and 90 countries, and those 90 countries' GDP is around 200 billion a year. So 200,000 billion, and of course, we made some statistics, and as you can see, in the Central Asia, Russia, and especially North Africa, still there is a lot need for internet and telecommunication. And the only mean is the satellite, because you cannot go and put the cable or fiber in each home, each place, in the desert or in the jungle. When we launched the satellite, although the satellite as a stationary, geostationary should stay there, but because of the effect of the solar winds, the radiation of the cosmic radiation, and the Earth is not, the Earth magnetic field is not unique, so the satellite tried to escape from its position. So we have to, 24 hours, control the satellite. So there are 2 control stations which we put in the Turkmenistan, and also from Monaco, with a link to the Monaco, we control, monitor, and always supervise these control stations. And our engineers, SSI engineers, are also on site supervising the technicians and engineers there to control the satellite. So what this satellite can do? Okay, we launched the satellite, technologically it's perfect, it's working well, but what this satellite will do? Of course, all type of telecommunications we call, I mean any type of multimedia applications, telephony, internet, but mainly the telecom satellites, geosynchronous satellites, are used more for the TV transmission. Today, almost everywhere in Europe and in the world, TV transmissions are made through the satellite. Like in Monaco, in the big cities, then you can distribute by cable. But when you go out of the city or the big cities where there is no cable, you need to have the satellite dish. And of course, this is for the television, but you can see with many applications, we call VSAT, small aperture VSAT, very small aperture antennas. With the small antennas, from a hub station, like for example Monaco, we can give the service to all maritime, energy monitoring, pipeline monitoring, rural internet. What does it mean? For example, in a city or in a small village in Africa, even if there is no electricity, no connection, no telephone, by putting a small kiosk or at home something with solar panels and with 60 centimeter dish, they will have television, internet, and telephony. And so this way, many of the European countries, even in Europe, many of the countries or the villages are connected like this. And even in France, I think even in Beausoleil, they have some difficulties for the ADSL or high-speed internet. So the only solution is still satellite. And of course, by using this data or reaching or bringing the internet to anywhere, any place, so the e-school, e-health, telemedicine applications are more and more important for the application of the satellites. So when you look at what does it mean reaching to the countries or to the villages where there is underserved for the telephony, internet, or anything, any communication, normally, if you think France, Europe, Germany, or something in Europe, you may not consider, but think about Central Asia, think about Kazakhstan, think about Turkmenistan, or any African country. They have no means to have a cable. They have no means or very few means to have a connection to the other part of the world. So by putting one antenna anywhere there, and by putting an antenna here, we call hub station a teleport in Monaco, then everywhere can be connected. So I would like Mr. Perronnet to make some comments on this part.
Thank you, Ilhami. Alors, je vais vous donner quelques exemples en fait d'utilisation possible. Par exemple, vous savez qu'on a un partenaire en Afghanistan qui s'appelle Roshan et qui est le plus gros opérateur en Afghanistan. Et ben, cet opérateur, il a du mal à connecter finalement ses sites mobiles distants avec son central. Parce qu'il y a un anneau de fibre en Afghanistan, mais il est perfectible et il a tendance à être coupé. Je ne sais pas pourquoi, mais il y a un petit peu des soucis dans ce pays et parfois il y a des conséquences qui sont un peu difficiles. Et donc, par exemple, SSI a participé à un appel d'offres et pour l'instant est plutôt en voie de remporter un appel d'offres pour connecter des sites distants de Roshan à son central. Deuxième situation, ça pourrait se présenter en Afghanistan, ça peut se présenter aussi dans d'autres pays. Un opérateur a besoin de connectivité, a besoin d'accès à Internet. Et donc, or, il n'a pas forcément suffisamment, ou en termes de sécurité, il n'a pas soit pas assez, soit besoin de sécurité dans son accès à Internet. Donc, du coup, le satellite offre une bonne alternative, c'est-à-dire que on le connecte, on met une antenne chez lui, on le connecte au satellite. Ensuite, le satellite nous emmène au téléport ici, et nous, notre métier, c'est quoi? C'est justement de fournir de la capacité Internet. Et donc, du coup, finalement, on est grossiste en capacité Internet pour un pays distant. D'autres applications, par exemple, un client, soit un opérateur, soit un gros client dans un pays, par exemple au Kazakhstan, a besoin de sauvegarder, de faire des copies de sauvegarde importantes de ces systèmes d'information. Alors il en a une souvent au Kazakhstan, ça me paraît assez logique, mais il va en avoir une dans un autre pays. Pas forcément envie de la mettre en Russie, pas forcément... Et finalement, du coup, en utilisant le satellite, il est connecté au téléport de Monaco, et là, ça tombe bien, on a un data center qui est plutôt de très bonne qualité. Donc du coup, ça lui permet d'avoir un accès direct et très contrôlé à un certain nombre justement de ressources qu'il va trouver dans un pays comme Monaco ou via Monaco dans d'autres pays. Et voilà, donc finalement, le satellite nous permet d'avoir un service de bout en bout assez abouti. Effectivement, on est connecté, nous, par ailleurs, à l'Europe India Gateway, donc le câble IG qui arrive à Monaco, et donc on peut combiner comme ça les ressources apportées par le satellite et les ressources apportées par les moyens terrestres. Et puis on peut nous demander d'aller un cran plus loin, c'est-à-dire d'amener des solutions VSAT de bout en bout. Alors nous, on est plutôt sur la partie justement fourniture d'Internet, fourniture ou de ce qu'on appelle un hub direct, fourniture d'applications, notamment de voix qui vont derrière. Et puis après, derrière, il suffit de trouver la personne qui va amener les antennes sur place.
Thank you, Martin. As you see, we have very good cooperation, and we are actually not competing, but we are cooperating each other with Monaco Telecom, because we are connecting Monaco to the other part of the world, which under our coverage. And Monaco Telecom is not Monaco Telecom only now. For me, is now an international global telecom that they can reach in all those regions, and they can give the same service, not only in Monaco, but in those regions. So one of the other applications, if we continue, of course, e-health, e-telemedicine applications, it is the same with the central hospital group, which we are now working with the CHPG in CHPG in Monaco, and Florence Nightingale in Istanbul, one of the biggest private hospitals there, and Karolinska Institute Sweden, to combine them, to make a network, and then from those networks to give a service to the other small hospitals in the remote areas in the Central Asia or Africa. And of course, as just before I said, same type of projects is applicable for the e-schools, connecting to schools or giving an education training from a central city or place. Different type of applications, I just want to show the applications. We are cooperating with a company called Mosaico from Italy, where by using the satellite imagery, their drones, different type of things, they can make a kind of mapping of the countries or the region, and they can make an emergency monitoring. In Europe, of course, this application is used more for the emergency, especially in Italy. They put some emergency centers, and from the satellite and from the drones, they control if there is any earthquake or any big disaster happen. But of course, this can be used for the military applications, especially in Afghanistan or close to the Iran, Afghanistan, those regions, to monitor and mapping what is going on the land. Of course, as I said, the biggest application of the satellite is on the television. And this satellite, MonacoSat, will be used mostly, I could say around 70% of the capacity will be used for television. Individual television for each country that we are covering, or we could say a TV bouquet like Canalsat, all the others, for regional TV bouquet that they are under creation. But of course, this should create a new business in Monaco. Some new entrepreneurs, new investors, there is a big, I should say, an advantage to use this satellite from Monaco to create some TV companies, TV stations, or some bouquet, which we already started to give the idea and to prepare the infrastructure. We call just now as a Monaco Premier TV channels, and it will be not only for Monaco, of course, from Monaco, either a bouquet, special bouquet for the North Africa, special bouquet for Arabic region, special bouquet for the Central Asia. So Monaco will be a kind of center for this type of applications. And when you start this satellite business, and for example, I just say that the total cost of this project is around 300 million, but when the TV stations, all the other military civil applications start to invest on the ground, the investment will go around billions, 1 billion, 2 billion, or such levels. So you cannot stop. You have to follow, you have to give a follow-on satellite, and you have to continue. So we already, although we launched the satellite, we expect in 1 or 2 years to fill up the satellite. So we already started a second satellite we call MonacoSat-2. It will be on the same position, 52-degree east position, which will protect the first satellite as a backup and also will increase the capacity from the 52-degree position. And our expectations is in 4 years' time to launch this satellite on the same position, which we call MonacoSat-2. This is in a short time. We want to give you some information, and thank you for your interest. So if there is any question, I know that the time is running and I don't see the thing. I will ask Christophe Pierre just to make some words about here, please, about the last situation on the orbital positions and the position of Monaco. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilhami. Yes, just...
En français, si vous voulez.
Oui, ce sera mieux pour moi, effectivement. En fait, la part du gouvernement dans ce projet-là, donc effectivement, c'était d'appliquer les positions orbitales en 2005 et de coordonner tout ce qui était position avec les autres opérateurs dans l'espace, mais aussi au niveau terrestre pour toute la couverture du satellite. Donc nous travaillons toujours sur l'élargissement de la couverture du satellite au niveau administratif pour permettre à la société d'Ilhami de pouvoir couvrir plus et plus encore de personnes. En ce moment se déroule à Genève la conférence mondiale des radiocoms sur laquelle nous allons décider un certain nombre d'élargissements de bandes pour les satellites, comme d'ailleurs pour les téléphones mobiles, Martin. Donc nous allons augmenter les capacités disponibles sur les positions orbitales, ce qui permettra de rajouter de la valeur et donc de la capacité au deuxième satellite que le Dr Aygoun a mentionné. Et donc tout ça pour continuer à élargir, je dirais, cette belle réussite sur 52 degrés Est. Sur les autres positions orbitales donc, que M. Margossian a citées, elles sont mortes de leur belle mort, on va dire, après 7 ans. Le positionnement sur de nouvelles positions orbitales, on se pose la question, notamment donc avec ces nouvelles capacités, ces nouvelles fréquences qui seront décidées à la CMR 2015, pour voir si dans l'espace, il y a encore un petit slot de disponible pour avoir une autre belle aventure spatiale pour un autre satellite avec SSI ou un autre opérateur, pourquoi pas. Donc nous étudierons cela au cours de l'année 2016. Voilà.
Merci Christophe. Je pense qu'on n'a pas beaucoup de temps, mais les dames, c'est bienvenu. Merci. Et juste deux, trois questions, s'il vous plaît.
C'est gentil, merci beaucoup. C'est pour savoir, en fait, je veux dire, la fréquence qui sont services urgence, c'est sur quelle connexion avec combien de chiffres qu'il se passe? Fait voir que de services urgence, toutes les fréquences, en fait.
Ah, ok. Et ça, on s'appelle KU-band. C'est KU-band, ça commence pour les uplink. On a dit 14 GHz. Et dans le downlink, dans l'autre sens, c'est 11 à 12 GHz. C'est KU-band.
Et c'est combien de chiffres? Donc, on dit 14, c'est 14 chiffres, en fait.
Donc, 14 gigabits. Ça, c'est une technique, mais juste je peux vous dire, ce satellite, la capacité, c'est 38 transponders, c'est 38 chaînes de satellites. Dans une chaîne, dans une canal, on peut mettre jusqu'à 15 télévisions aux milliers de télécoms et Internet connexions.
Ok, et définitivement, pour ne pas avoir ce genre de communication, comment est-ce qu'on peut faire?
Ça, c'est tout pour la communication, mais on juste faciliter la connexion des deux points.
Ouais.
Mais après, c'est Monaco Télécom qui donne tous les services et fait la connexion jusqu'à end user.
C'est gentil, merci beaucoup.
Bonjour, mon nom c'est Madi Mohamed, je suis de Comores. Vous avez parlé beaucoup de la couverture au niveau de l'Afrique et Afghanistan. Est-ce que vous avez un objectif de couvrir l'Afrique entièrement ou d'ici combien de temps?
Merci. Aujourd'hui, on couvre juste l'Afrique du Nord et Moyen-Orient. Mais dans notre deuxième satellite, on va couvrir toute l'Afrique. Et maintenant, on couvre l'Afrique du Nord, mais aussi on fait les liaisons, connexions Afrique du Nord à l'Europe et aussi toute l'Asie centrale. Mais dans le futur satellite, on va couvrir toute l'Afrique. Merci. So I should say thank you very much for your interest and for your patience. And I hope we gave this important project some information to you. I try not to enter too much techniques, but if it was, sorry. But anyway, from our internet sites and our team in our stand, we are ready to give all other type of information you need. Thank you very much.